it's easy to do a twist. It's easy to do a reversal or add some random amount of danger, but is it good is the main thing. Does it do what you want it to do? And so a great twist will strengthen your story. It'll take your story down in history in someone's mind, and they'll forever think about how that story made them feel, right? With a great twist. But a bad twist will make them forget it. It will disappoint them. It will drag your story down. Consider having a knight, right? And you tell a whole story about this knight. He's going to go save a princess who's stuck in a tower. And the whole story is him fighting his way to this princess, all of the ups and downs. He gets there, he meets her, and he throws her off the tower. And you're like, what? Why? Like, if you spent the whole book talking about how he wanted to save her, and at the end he doesn't, why did you spend that whole time doing that? Now, if you said he threw her off the tower because it turns out she was actually the evil witch the whole time, that's a cool plot twist. But you do have to build up to it, and you do have to have reasons. And we'll talk a little bit about how that's different. Oh, I didn't change it here. But effective or effective plot twists are surprising. But when a reader looks back on that story, there were clues. And then they'll go, oh, I didn't see this coming, but it's so obvious that that would happen. That makes sense. Everything they showed me agrees that this is a very logical outcome. I just didn't see it coming. That's an effective plot twist. It also adds meaning and depth to the story. Like, why is this person going to save them, and why is it important that they don't? Or what about this twist changes the story in a good way, not just I needed to add something here, so I added it way. And also a great plot twist understands and works with reader expectations. And we'll talk more about that as we go on, because that to me is very important. When talking about plot twists, it's knowing your plot better than anyone else, and then also understanding what your reader's expectations are. And so on the opposite side, we've got disappointing plot twists, right? Like, it's shocking because it came out of nowhere. You just threw something out of left field, and yeah, I didn't see it coming because you didn't give me any clues to suggest it might. And that feels like a cheat. So don't lie to your readers. Don't tell them, don't do it just to get shock value or entertainment value, because it'll make them feel cheated, and they won't remember it in the same way, and it won't have the same impact. And if the plot twist holds no real significance for the character or for the story, then it doesn't need to be there. So if you're doing it just because you feel like something is going boring in your story is boring and you just want to spice it up, then you do have to add the weight under it. Like, yeah, maybe you do need something to spice it up, but what else is lacking in your story up until that point to give it weight, give that twist weight? That's all I mean by that. Don't just add in a weird twist. So talking about that thing I care about so much, which is reader expectations. I can break that down into a couple different things. There's genre, there's story, and there's pace. And these all inform how you should think about your ideal reader, I guess we should say. I don't know if I should be a little slower. For genre expectations. Neil Gaiman said this best: give the people what they want. When people pick up your book, the genre isn't meant to just pigeonhole you, right? It's not telling you how to write a story exactly, but it is telling your reader what they can expect. And certain genres have certain expectations. Like when I pick up a rom-com, I expect them to get together. If they don't get together, or if someone dies, I'm going to be really upset, because that's not what I signed up for when I went to the rom-com section and I picked up your cute book, right? But with horror, what's interesting about it is that sometimes there's happy endings and sometimes there's not. And that's part of the horror genre, is that there's going to be tragedy, there's going to be pain, there's going to be a actual tension, because you don't know if it's going to be a happy or sad ending. But that's expected when you pick up horror. You're trying to be scared, you're trying to feel something negative. So expectations are important, and you do want to deliver on those basic expectations, because otherwise it doesn't matter what your twist does. It's just not as good. But it doesn't mean that you have to follow an exact guideline and follow the exact structure of every book in that genre, right? It's do it, but better. So thinking about why are they picking up your book, deliver on that promise. And if you're going to add a TRD, make sure it adds value. It doesn't detract from that promised genre expectation. Story expectations are different. This is, your twists have to be true to the established rules of the story. If you're telling a historical fiction about a knight, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on knights, but like actual knights, you know, they're on horseback, there's no magic, they have to fight each other, a fatal wound is actually fatal, right, in the past. But if you had this whole story where all of it was historically accurate until your main character gets fatally wounded, but suddenly we realize that he is the son of Zeus and can heal himself, that came out of nowhere, right? No, you can't do that. Like, it doesn't fit the rest of the story, the rules you've established so far. So yeah, that's a plot twist, but it's not a great one. It feels like a cheat. And the same thing happens with actual character behavior. And this one's kind of interesting. You can make them work if they're in line with your character behavior. So Cleland has this really cool way of talking about plot, where she says, it's not the situations that create conflict in your story. It's how your character reacts to that situation that creates conflict. And so understanding your character is important in that sense, because say you have this boss and she is from the very beginning very strict, very outspoken, strong leader, and she's someone who can be very intense to deal with. And if an employee oversteps a boundary with her and she fires him, that's all in line with the character. That's not a plot twist, which is fine. It's just part of it. But you didn't make a twist by having her fire someone. That's expected. But if at the beginning she's very timid and is trying to assert herself, but doesn't know how, doesn't have a lot of confidence, and then later on in the story, when an employee tries to step on her like they have in the past and she fires him, well, that's actually a plot twist. That's something that wasn't expected. You have to have reasons for it and build up on that, but that is a twist because it's different from her past character behavior, and then you can have reasons for it. So keeping in mind your story, what makes a twist and what is not a twist is story dependent. And if you're adding all of this, ask yourself, is my story getting better by adding it? And if it is, do it. If not, skip it. This is an interesting part. Pace expectations. More TRDs make a faster pace, and fewer TRDs make a slower pace. So if you're considering your genres, some genres are inherently going to have more twists, reversals, danger than others, and they're going to have a faster pace. A thriller has to be fast paced, right? No one reads a slow thriller because then it's not a thriller. Versus your romance novels, right? Those can be slower because it's about your characters connecting. It's more about those interpersonal relationships and their backgrounds, and less about these extreme twists and turns. But you can still have plot twists that are effective in romance novels. You just might have less of them. To give a great example of that, the Da Vinci Code has 8 TRDs in the first 16 pages. This is the first 16 pages. The Notebook had 6 in the entire novel. So you could tell those were dispersed throughout the novel. They were used effectively. They were meant to add some intrigue to the story, but it wasn't a fast-paced novel by the same sense of the Da Vinci Code, which if it's only the first 16 pages has 8, oh my gosh, the rest of that book was a wild ride, right? So your pace expectations vary with genre, and having more twists and reversals and danger makes it faster, fewer is slower. And for those of you that really do like numbers, I hate this, but if you like it, I hope this helps you. But in this book, Cleland talks about Jane's plotting roadmap, and she suggested, if it feels right to you, in my opinion, a leisurely pace will have a TRD occur every 90 to 110 pages. Steady pace is a twist or danger or whatever every 70 pages, so evenly dispersed. And then a fast pace will be every 20 to 50 pages you'll have TRD. That is grain of salt, maybe something that you can look at. But again, think of your story. This comes from, so considering layers,